Now I have two sections. There is a section, there's this section, there's also a section that I teach on Wednesday mornings. It's in this room at 9 o'clock. I also don't mind if you ever happen to miss a class, you're welcome to come and sit in. Those students are in the web program, but they're also in semester 2, so they started in the web program back in September, the same time that most of you started, okay? Because it's pretty much the same lesson Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm not going to record the same lesson twice, so sometimes you may go on YouTube and see a lesson, and it may have been from the Wednesday section, but it basically are covering, it's the same course delivered twice. Okay? So, kind of want to look at where we're going, and a big part of the goal in this course is all of you are used to using the web every day as an end user, and what I want you to start to do is see it not as an end user, but as a web developer would see it. So I'll give you some examples. So for example, anybody ever been here? Yeah, you've been there? Right? So the average person goes to San Francisco, that's what we see. We see the Golden Gate Bridge. Okay? However, if you're an engineer, you don't just see the bridge that way. You also can look at that bridge and you're thinking about this, right? How's that actually put together? Average person might see one of these. If you're this guy, you know, you can see that and you're imagining what's under the hood. Okay? We might, on TV, we might see this guy, and if that's our job, you know, we're thinking in terms of this. What's actually happening underneath that the average person doesn't see. Okay? And finally, we all see this. I'm sure many of you have already seen this page today. So if you're this guy, which is really what we're training you all to be, we want you to be able to look at that and think, what's happening underneath? How's this all put together? How does this work? Okay. So a lot of, I think I mentioned, a lot of what we're going to do is kind of deconstructing the things that we do every day that we see and we use online and think about how it's built. So we want to think of it in terms of code. We also want to think in terms of architecture and structure. How are these things put together? Because really all web applications really work in the same way. So a big part of this class is to try and teach you the fundamentals. Once you understand the fundamentals, you can really build anything. Okay? And the stuff we do in later courses, in advanced web programming in the fall, and then your enterprise computing class, which you'll have next year, is really just using different technologies to do more and more advanced versions of the same thing. Okay? So really, I mean, here's the architecture, here's what we need. Everything we do in this class revolves around this. We've got some kind of client using some kind of internet-enabled device. Could be a laptop, could be a desktop, could be a mobile device. And what they want to do is interact with some kind of web page. So those pages are stored on a web server somewhere. You guys all have web server accounts. I'll also show you how you could run your own web server on your own machine if you want to do that. And basically what we're doing is our client wants some kind of information that typically is stored in a database somewhere. Right? We want access to something, some kind of information. So what we need is we need some kind of programming or scripting language that can interpret what is it that that client wants and how do we interact with the database. Okay? That's why you guys are taking this class, and probably most of you are taking relational database at the same time. Right? So that you can learn how to build and manipulate databases. And that knowledge is going to feed into this class. Okay, who do you have for databases? Jarrett? Probably a lot of you?
Data.
Right, so most of you have Jarrett. So I've taught that course many times, so I know Jarrett and I actually are in the same office, so I have a pretty good understanding of how the skills from that course will translate into this course. It's not critical because I'm still going to give you the database commands that you need. It's just helpful in terms of understanding the database piece and being able to build that out on your own. Okay, but it is not a requirement for this course. Okay, and I have had many people take this course without that database course and they do just fine. Okay, so don't panic. Okay. So really we're going to look at how do we integrate, so some of the technologies you learned last semester with Scott, HTML, CSS, some of the stuff you're going to be learning with Jarrett, and how do we put that all together to build a solution that runs online. Okay, that's really what we're looking at. There's more good news for you. For many people, the fact they can roll out of bed in the morning, pull up their phone, go ahead and buy something or check their stocks or do their banking, they think this is some kind of magic. Okay? It really isn't magic. All it is basically programming fundamentals and using the HTTP protocol. Okay? So all web applications kind of work the same way. Right? We've got some kind of data that we want to access, people want to access through some kind of internet-enabled device. So let's think about some simple examples. Okay? Let's think about Facebook. What kind of data are we interested in when we go to Facebook? I mean, I've seen people on Facebook during the class. Why do you go? What do you want to see when you're there? Where's the information on Facebook come from?
Other users.
Okay, so information, what specifically? What kinds of information are other users, what kind of data is other users making available that you're interested in?
What they're doing.
Okay, so what they're doing, yep. Videos.
User profiles.
Profiles.
Birthday reminders.
Okay, people's birthdays. What else do you go on Facebook to see?
The potential for doing criminal activity.
Okay, could be. Right. So where is all that data stored? Yeah, it's stored in Facebook's database, right? If we could look in Facebook's database, we would see tables that store all of this stuff, right? And how many people check Facebook more than once a day? Okay. Why? Why do you check it more than once a day? Yeah, because that data is constantly changing, right? So really all Facebook is a web application that shows you certain sets of data that you want to see. Okay? It's nothing more than that. Actually, I ordered on here the other day. What kinds of data would you expect if Amazon let us see what their database looks like? What kinds of things would we expect to see? What does Amazon store in their database that we can look at online? Products would probably be the main one. What other things would be in there? Pricing? Yep, could be. Yeah, product reviews. That's a really important, right? Before you buy something, you want to see what other people have.
Customer trends.
Yep.
Buying trends. Metadata.
Okay, could be.
Account information.
Yeah, information about your account, shipping addresses, your order history, right? All Amazon really is a database, okay? And basically the main two tables are here. They show us products. That's what we want to see, right? That's what we want from them. And what Amazon wants from us is they want us, so they put the products in so we can see them online. And what they want us to do is use their application to create new orders in their database, right? That's why it exists. This is usually the first site I look at every morning. What kinds of things does the Globe and Mail's website, what kinds of data does it show us? What would we expect to see in their database?
Articles.
Yep, that would probably be the main one. But what else would be in there besides articles?
Dates.
Yep, dates. What other thing? Sorry? Absolutely, advertisements. Amazon and Facebook would have those as well. What else would you find in there if they gave us a copy of their database and we could look at it?
Account information.
Yep, so information about the subscribers, the users. Anything else you can think of?
Authors.
Yeah, the writers, right? We could click on a writer's name and it should be able to bring up all of the articles that they've written. Right? They've also got video, they've got images, they've got comments, right? We can read a news story or an article and we can make a comment. We can actually contribute. We're not only reading the content from the newspaper, we can actually contribute to that content. I don't like this article, this writer doesn't know what they're talking about. So all of these applications, they really all work the same way. I like to think of it, kind of give it an analogy that a web application is actually kind of like a pub. Okay? We've got a bunch of different pieces, and ultimately we want to deliver stuff that our users or our customers want. We'll look at this a little more closely. Okay? So we got our pub over here on my right. We've got a web application. We've got Facebook on the left. Okay? So in each case, both the pub and the web application have something somebody want, right? On Facebook, we want information about our friends or their criminal activity. In the pub, we want drinks. Right? But in both cases, The end user, we have no access to get what we want. What would happen if you walked into the pub? Can you walk behind the bar and just pour yourself, start mixing margaritas? What would happen to you?
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work, right? Same thing if you want to get information from Facebook. We don't have direct access to their database. We can't go in directly and pull out what we want. We have to go through their website that controls what we can see and manages what we get access to. So in a bar, the drinks are stored on shelves behind the bar. And in any kind of database, doesn't matter whether it's Facebook, the Globe and Mail, Amazon, or anything else, we've got a database that's storing that information. Okay? And as you said, that data is always changing, which is why you go back to Facebook again and again. You want to see what's in there that wasn't there an hour ago or 5 minutes ago. Okay? So if we can't get this stuff directly, how does it work? Right? In the pub, rather than going behind the bar, you give a set of instructions to this guy. Right? He works there. He'll take your order. Okay? So this is similar in a web application where we can make a request. We can tell the server what it is that we want. How do we do that as a user? So if I'm on Facebook, how do I tell Facebook what information I want to see? What's the simplest way for me to indicate what I want? Yeah, I can usually click something. You know, if I click your profile, if I click your name, that's telling Facebook, show me your profile.
It's more like input.
Yeah, it's an input. Or I could type in the search bar and hit enter, and it will send that request, right? That's really the same thing as when your server comes around to your table, and everybody at the table tells the server what it is they want. So now we've made that request. So what does the server do in the bar, right? Server comes to your table, you're sitting around the table, everybody orders. What does the server do next?
Takes your order, goes to the back of the bar.
Yeah, he's going to take it to the bar. So the same thing happens when we make a request online, right? We click on someone's Facebook avatar or their name, we're sending that request off to the server. And in each case, we've got kind of a way of issuing these instructions, right? In the bar, our server may have one of these, right? They may have an order pad where they list what everybody wants, or maybe they'll try and remember it. Okay? In a web application, what we're using and why most of you are taking the database class is SQL is the language that allows us to tell the database what we want. I want Shane's profile. Okay, so we issue an SQL instruction that will go for all the millions of profiles in Facebook. We don't want them all. We just want one. So if things are working properly, eventually our server is going to come back with all our drinks. Or if our web application's running properly, we request somebody's profile, we're going to get some data that comes back from the database. Okay? So then our server is going to hand everybody their drinks. And in this case, if maybe what we want to see was somebody's photo gallery, our page is going to load with all the photos that user uploaded. Okay? But in both cases, we have a number of different pieces working. This isn't something we can just go and do by ourselves. Okay? So in the pub, we've got all of these different things set up to allow somebody to come in and get drinks we want. We've got a bar that holds the drinks. Well, in a web application, you've got a database that holds the content. News articles, products, profiles, whatever that data is. We've got a place for people to come. So in a bar, people can sit down or they can go to the bar. And in the case of web application, we have some kind of device that uses HTTP. Could be one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these, right? In the pub, we've got the menu. It tells people what's available. And on the web, we've got our HTTP protocol. It defines what kinds of requests users can make. Then we've got our server that takes the instructions. And in a web application, that's what we're using HTML for. And we'll look at how do we get instructions from users with HTML by using HTML forms. You guys may have played around with them a little bit in Scott's class, I'm not sure. If you haven't, by the end of this class, you'll have built so many HTML forms you'll be able to do it in a snap. Okay. And then our server has a notepad for taking our instructions, and that's really the function of PHP. Okay. That's the logic or the brains here. When you learned HTML, we can make a web page that looks nice and use with CSS, but it doesn't actually do anything. There's no logic, there's no ability to process. So what PHP does is it takes that user request and gives them the data they want. So I want to see this photo album, or I want to review this product on Amazon. Okay? We're going to use PHP to do that processing. That's our interaction between the web browser and our database. PHP will go in between the two of them. It's kind of a messenger running back and forth. Okay? And then the last thing we have, just like in the pub, we have the bartender that will take those instructions and get the drinks. Really, that's what we're using SQL for. It's our set of instructions to the database. Select these photos from this user, or check this person's username and password and see if they have an account, or save their new order to the database so we can ship them their products. So it would be great if we had one technology. In desktop development, we don't need all these different pieces. You want to build a Java application? Well, Java defines the user interface, all the boxes and drop downs and buttons and screens, and all of the logic and programming is still done with Java. On the web, we don't have that ability because browsers are stupid. The only thing browsers understand is HTML, so we have to use HTML for developing the interface. But then we need some other kind of server-side scripting language to do the thinking and all the processing. So PHP is one option we have. It's probably the simplest language to learn, which is why we use it in this class for an introduction. What other options do we have if we didn't want to use PHP? What else could we use for that server-side scripting piece?
JSP.
We could use JSP, so Java on the server.
Can you use Servlets?
Yeah, we could use Java servlets.
ASP.NET?
We could use ASP.NET, which is what you guys will do in your enterprise computing class in your finals in second year, in your fourth academic semester. We could use Python. It's not used very much. There's a couple other.
You use frameworks.
Yeah,
Go from Google?
we could.
Node?
The other really popular one now is Node.js, so JavaScript that runs on the server. And in fact, when you guys come back here next fall in advanced web programming, that's what we're going to teach you. I'm not sure if I'll be teaching you or Tom will be teaching you, but we're going to do JavaScript on the server with Node, which is lightning fast. Okay? So by the time you're finished your 2 years, you're going to have learned 3 different ways of building web applications. We can build them with PHP, we can build them with Node.js, or we can build them with ASP.NET and C#. But they all have the same fundamentals. They all work in similar ways. You know, we start with PHP because, as I said, it's the simplest, it's the easiest to learn. Okay, so the skills you learn in other courses are going to build on top of this one. So just to show you a quick preview of what we're going to be building this term, and then we'll dive into PHP a bit more. So here's the completed application. So when I had a few sections of the class last summer. So this is the application that we built. Every week in class, we built a new feature onto it. So I can show you what it looks like. So you notice down here at the bottom, we've got a live weather preview here. And we've got a page where I can create an account with a little Google anti-spam. So everything I'm showing you on here, we're going to learn how to do. Okay, so I can create an account. I could log in. So we'll talk about security and authentication after reading week. How do we make our websites password protected so that only we can control who has access to them? So when I log in, I've got a couple options, and you'll notice my menu changed here. Once I'm logged in, the register and login links go away, and I have these 4 links. So what we did was we made a movies page. So all of this data will come from our database. So we set up a simple movies table in our database, and I could add movies. I could go in and make changes if I want to edit them. We can upload movie posters, so we'll look at how to do file uploads. I could also delete any movie from here, and it will give me this neat little confirmation in case I accidentally click on delete. We'll make sure the users really want to delete. We could search for one or more keywords, and it will filter our list of movies. I can also sort these. So if I go back, and let's say I want to sort them by year, I can click and it will go in ascending order with this little arrow. If I click it again, we'll go in descending order. We'll also look at how to integrate Facebook comments. into any web application rather than building our own comment stream. Well, Facebook gives us the ability to just use theirs. So we'll look at how we integrate that as well. We'll also look at, once we've uploaded all these movie posters, how do we make an image gallery out of them? Kind of similar to a Facebook photo album. So we'll do that in, I think it's lesson 10. How do we upload files and how do we build an image gallery? Okay. And if I log out, so I'll just grab that address. If I open up a different browser where I'm not logged in, so I'll try and load my gallery page here. I'm not logged in, but because I'm not logged in, I get kicked right back to the home page. It forces me to log in. So that's all the functionality. So we're going to build a similar web application to this through the term. So you can probably see that's quite a lot of features. We'll kind of do one feature each week. So this is one of the other reasons you want to come to class, because if you come on week 3 and you're not on week 2, well, you're going to be missing some of the stuff we did on week 2, and we want to keep adding on. Okay. So this is kind of where we're going, and we're going to build a very similar application in this class. Okay, so I'll show you this one. Usually most weeks I'll show you at the beginning, okay, here's what we're doing today. Here's what it's going to look like when we're done. So the idea is when you're done this term, you'll have one of these applications that you will have built on your own, start to finish. Okay, and you'll have written all the code yourself. So by then you should have a pretty good understanding of how all this stuff works. Okay, so what I want to do is build a similar application. We built it with movies in my summer section. So what I've done is put up a little poll. Now, you can build anything you like. I don't care what you make your application about. But I've put up a little poll. Rather than me making the sample application about movies, I've suggested a few other topics here. So if you go on Blackboard and just scroll down to this item, you can click on the link, or you can send a text message or a tweet, and you can vote as to what we should make our little in-class. So this is not for marks. This is just what we'll be doing, building in class every week. So I encourage you either go to the Poll Everywhere site or send a text or send a tweet. And here we'll see the results updating in real time about what we should make our application about. Again, if you want to make your application about something else, that's fine. Yours will just look a little bit different, and you'll have some different fields on yours from what I'm going to do. Sandwiches isn't doing very well. So I will build mine with whatever has the highest vote. But like I said, you can either follow me or you can build it but use your own set of data instead of what I use. Pardon? You shouldn't have to register. You should just be able to vote as a guest. I don't think you have to. It's anonymous, so I don't know. I'll use this. It's a kind of a fun little tool. I'll try and use it in class from time to time. All right, so it looks like we've got a winner for this section. So in my application that I build in class, I'll have a games, and when we go ahead and build this, I'll put in fields that are relevant to video games. Okay, but if you want to do something else, that's fine. You're not obligated to build it along with me. It's just your code will be a little different, right? You may have some different field names here from what I have. Okay, so one of the things we're going to need to do when we set it up next week, we'll need to set up a games table in our database with some proper fields, right? We'll need a name and a publisher and whatever other fields would be appropriate to video games. We'll also have to get some pictures because later on we'll do file uploads. So we'll need a picture for each game. Okay, so yeah, there's our winner. Video games. Okay. So I've given you a very high-level introduction. We haven't talked about PHP specifically. So if you just scroll up on Blackboard, there's another link here. Here's what I want you to do. You're going to take 10 minutes. This is a bit of a class research and brainstorming exercise. Rather than me just ramble on about PHP, you guys are going to do a little bit of research. Okay? So when you click on this link, what can you learn about PHP in 10 minutes? It will take you here. Now, you can log in with any social media account. You don't have to log in. You can just say work as a guest if you want. If you say you're a guest, it'll prompt you for your name. So what I want you to do, I've given you a few basic questions here about PHP. Okay? Some of the benefits, syntax, websites that use it. And I've given you a little screenshot as to how you make a comment on here. If you click on this comment button and just drag and drop, it'll open up a comment box that you can type in. Yeah, I put a big sticky note in the middle. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes, do a little research online, make a comment, and put your name in it, and a few answers to some of the questions. Okay? So when we're all done, we should have compiled as a class a pretty good set of study notes about PHP. And some of the questions on your midterm exam are probably going to come straight from here. So take 10 minutes, do a little reading online, and make a comment where you're answering some basic questions about PHP.